What's up? So today I wanted to do some stuff in Session View because it's been really great for my workflow recently, and I've been using it a ton to start new songs. Basically, to get started, I would show how I would convert a song I started in Arrangement View into Session View, because I think it's still useful at that point because it kind of helps generate new ideas. So how I would go from arrangement into Session View, and by the way, you can do that with the tab key on your keyboard to switch between them. Basically select the amount of time you want your scenes to be, which is usually, like one measure. And you right click and hit consolidate time to new scene. Actually, also I'd recommend doing this in order. But another thing to make it a little easier for yourself is set the loop length to how long you want the scenes to be. And then you can just drag that across your song as you consolidate all the sections. I'll just do the intro to the drop to kind of show what it looks like. So then it puts all the pieces of your song in here, and probably the best part about Session View is you can start playing them out of order. So I think maybe this one's the intro. So this one's the intro, and these are all my like tracks or clips from the intro. I can just jump to a different section and like play the kick, for example. Which doesn't sound good exactly, but it's an example of something you could try and like experiment with. Maybe like the synth from your build and then put it a little earlier in the song or something. And it's really nice because this is like a non-destructive way to experiment with your arrangement, because the arrangement doesn't change at all, which is really, really nice. And then if you want to switch back into the arrangement, make sure you click the red play button, by the way, because that'll put it back to like all the tracks playing in the arrangement again. Right now it's still, like if I hit space, it's still only listening to the session view, actually. But if you click the red play button, it goes back into the arrangement. Another thing I really like about this is you can trigger like individual instruments or individual tracks, but you can also activate whole groups at a time. So I could activate the whole like drop drums. And that just started playing all these tracks from the drop, even though I'm still like in the arrangement view. I'm in the intro or the build. I'm in the build and I can still like play all the drums. That's why they all have like this gray marker, because it's not listening to the arrangement view, it's listening to the session view. And again, you click the red arrow, red play button to start using arrangement view entirely again. But it's really cool to like experiment, and I just became so yellow. It's really cool to experiment between the two views and try them both out. It makes some cool combinations. And probably the last important thing for this like section is if you make a new scene here, like I just duplicated one of these, I can do it again to make a new scene. And if you want this to be in your arrangement, like it's something new, you just click and drag where the number is and then move up to like the switching icons, and then you pull down, and like wherever you hover your mouse, that's where it's gonna drop the new section, which is the scene you already like made. And then you hit the red arrow, and then you're listening to like that whole new scene. But I don't actually want that, so it might be the exact same, but anyway. Anyway, this song is like really early on. It needs a lot of adjustment and mixing. Alright, so I opened up a different project that I started in Session View. So right now the arrangement is totally empty, and I just wanted to show how kind of easy it is to switch from session to arrangement once you have like a good sketch going. If I take, let's say like this group, I know the intro is around here. So I know these like few scenes in order are gonna be how I think the song should start. So if you just select those scenes and drag them into the arrangement, it just places them automatically and it's all in order and correct. It's super nice. And then you click the red play button to start working solely in arrangement view. And while we're here, I'd say one of the things that helps session view be more helpful is setting loop markers independent of the start point of the sample. So that's what I did here to make this kind of intro. And also something I've been doing recently that I have been liking the sound of is not only messing with the warp mode, but changing from the transient, which is the default for beats, to like 1/16 or any other increment that is in line with the notes, because it makes it like makes it more rhythmic when it chops it up. Like, you know, just try multiple warp modes, try different transient lengths, and also make sure to try out these different modes. I think this one is like the sharpest. This one just like repeats the sample going forward. I think this one plays it forward and then stops it right after it repeats one time, pretty sure. Also on top of my usual vocal chain, I put an auto pan tremolo, which is doing this. Oh, I guess it stopped. And so there's a good amount of effects going on, but yeah, the warp mode chops it up in a really nice way. Let me turn on the vocals that I was experimenting with so I can show you how I chop stuff up even though I'm using session view, because the hardest thing for me previously that kept me from using session view more was wanting to chop up vocals like how you do in arrangement view. But I found out that you can kind of have the best of both worlds if you want. So let me use this as an example. Okay, so if I wanted to rearrange this vocal, I would have just like left session view and started making like the whole track basically. But if I still want to experiment with stuff, I found out that you can kind of use the arrangement view in combination with session view, and it's not as difficult as I would have thought. So like these gray play buttons are how you initiate a track by itself in the arrangement view, while leaving every other track playing from session view. And that's why the red play button exists, because that activates all the tracks and switches back and forth, or switches back to arrangement for everything. But I never tried before just switching like one track back into arrangement while leaving the session view fully playing. So that's what I did here. There's only this track in the arrangement. Because if I want to chop up this vocal, now I can, and still have the session view playing to experiment with like different loops of other tracks. Say I want to just have the vocal rearranged like this maybe. And then I want that to loop one more time before the measure. But now we have this chopped up sample in the arrangement. And if you go back to session view, you're like, okay, how do I get that to play again? What I do is there's two options. You can highlight the loop that you want to work with, consolidate time to new scene, and it puts it on its own scene, but you could just drag that up to overwrite the older sample. So now we have the chopped up sample saved into the session view. So you can just like try different loops of other tracks still in the session view. The other way to do it is, if I go back here, activate this again, you can copy and paste bounced audio. Make sure you turn off your effects before you paste the bounced audio. Do that right there. It will create a separate clip for each chop that you made, but I just delete the other clips, go back up to this one, and set the loop length back to the full 8 bars. Just make sure to turn your effects back on for that track. And yeah, I think that's mostly it for this video. I hope it makes Session View seem a little more usable to you, especially if you only use Arrangement View right now. And I hope you liked it. I'll see you in the next one.